Salutations, noble viewer. Thrilled to have you here. If you're just joining the journey, subscribe, share this video with your people, and tell me which city and country you're representing. I hadn't planned on stopping there that afternoon. My workday had stretched longer than usual, and instead of heading directly home, I decided to grab a bite at Rose's cafe. It wasn't too crowded, just a comfortable hum of conversation. I was moments from ordering when a voice I knew all too well cut through the room and stopped me cold. Tucked away in the corner booth, partially shielded behind a stack of magazines, sat Monica, my wife. Across from her were her regular crew, Celeste, Nora, and Adriana. But they weren't gossiping or casually chatting over lattes like I'd seen before. Notebooks were spread open, phones lined up in front of them, and papers arranged with almost surgical precision, like they were crafting a pitch. Something about the scene made me freeze. And then, I heard my name. Celeste leaned forward with her usual composed authority and said, "Monica, listen. No man passes this unless he really loves you. Say it's over, then watch what he does. If he begs, you'll know he cares. If he just lets it go, he never truly did." Nora chimed in, nodding. "Exactly. Don't waste more time on someone who wouldn't even fight for you." Monica seemed hesitant. Her voice was soft, uncertain. "It just seems dishonest. Faking a breakup with Albert just to test how he reacts." Adriana rapped her fingers on the table. "What's wrong with that? Men who act all caring usually have something to hide. My sister didn't test her guy, and he turned out to have a whole other family across town. Better to know now than to live in denial." Celeste slid a printed script across the table. "Say this exactly. Tell him you need space. Say the relationship isn't working. Record the conversation. We'll go over it after." A heaviness settled in my chest. This wasn't casual venting. This was strategic, calculated, deliberate. I pulled out my phone and quietly captured a short clip, just enough to document Celeste's instructions. Monica looked trapped, like she wanted to push back but lacked the strength. Eventually, she gave in with a faint nod. "Okay. Tonight, then." Their glasses clinked in unison, like they'd cracked some complex code. I left through the side exit. My heart wasn't racing, but my thoughts were already sharp and focused. If Monica wanted to conduct experiments, I'd show her just how fast those games could backfire. I got home before she did. The apartment was quiet, one of those still moments where everything sharpens. I set my bag down and walked directly to the dining area. She wanted drama? I had no intention of giving her that. I'd deliver something clearer, controlled, irrefutable. I placed a folder dead center on the table. Inside were copies of our lease, bank statements, and a full breakdown of shared expenses, with my initials marking every item I had personally paid. No anger, no theatrics, just a meticulous record, evidence. Then I laid my phone next to the folder, camera facing forward. Obvious, in plain sight. If she was planning to secretly record me, she'd immediately know I had nothing to hide. On a fresh sheet of paper, I wrote 3 questions in bold, deliberate handwriting. Why do you need others to help you decide what happens to your marriage? When did honesty stop being enough? If love has to be proven with deception, what are we really holding on to? I folded the page and slipped it into my back pocket. Surprisingly, I felt calmer than I had in weeks. There's a strange relief that comes from no longer trying to repair something that's already crumbling. Before settling in, I called Harlan, a reliable, even-tempered college friend who lived just a few blocks away. "You free to stay close tonight?" I asked him. His reply came instantly. "Is everything all right?" "Not exactly," I said, "but I might need a witness if things go sideways." "Got it," he said. "Just say the word." That was enough for me. When Monica's key clicked in the lock, I was already seated, eyes on my laptop, pretending to be deep into budgeting spreadsheets. The phone's red light blinked, recording openly. She stepped in cautiously. "Hey," she said, her tone a little too neutral. "We should talk." I closed the laptop slowly. I'd been ready for this all day. "Perfect timing," I said. "I was thinking the same thing." She took the seat across from me, her gaze fixed, her expression rehearsed. I noticed the edge of her phone glowing from her sleeve, already recording. She took a breath and started. Albert, I've been thinking a lot lately. About everything. And I believe I need some time apart. This marriage, it just isn't working. Her voice cracked right where one might expect it to, like she was following a script she'd practiced more than once. I didn't answer immediately. I let her words hang in the air, not as if I were stunned, but as if I'd heard them before. Because I had. The silence between us had grown so dense it felt physical. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the folded sheet I'd been carrying, and placed it gently on the table. She looked at it, blinking in confusion. Were you even listening to me just now? I heard every bit of it, I said, and pressed play on my phone. Celeste's voice came through, crisp and unmistakable. Monica, believe me, no man passes this unless he's head over heels. End it. Watch what he does. If he begs, he's yours. If he doesn't, he never cared. The color drained from Monica's cheeks. She reached for her phone, but I stopped her with a tap on the table. Leave it. Not yet. Her lips parted like she was about to say something, then closed again. It wasn't like that, Albert. It wasn't dash. Wasn't what? I asked, my tone level. A dress rehearsal? A setup? I met her eyes directly. I listened to the whole scene play out. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, the confidence she wore earlier slipping fast. Still, she made one last attempt to defend herself. It was just supposed to show me you cared. That's all it was. I pushed the paper toward her. Then read the questions. Out loud. One by one. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. She looked at me, then back at the list, but didn't say a word. A buzz broke the silence. Her phone lit up with a name I didn't need to read twice. Nora. Monica slipped the phone out of sight, but I had already caught it. They're standing by, I said quietly. Why not bring in the rest of the cast? If they helped write this act, they should be here for the finale. She opened her mouth, but no words came. I rose, pulled the number from memory, and dialed. When Celeste answered, I spoke clearly. Come over. Bring Nora and Adriana. I'd like everyone involved to be present. They didn't take long. 20 minutes later, a firm knock sounded through the apartment. Monica remained seated, hands clasped tightly. I went to the door and opened it. Celeste stepped in first. Sharp blazer, unreadable face. Nora followed close behind, gripping her purse like it could shield her. Adriana brought up the rear, her smile strained and unconvincing. They glanced around the room, visibly unsure. Celeste broke the silence. What's all this about? I returned to my seat, set my phone on the table, the recording icon blinking. Clarity, I said. Since the three of you helped draft the performance Monica just gave, I thought it only fair you see the last scene play out. Adriana gave a forced chuckle. Albert, really? You're making a big deal out of nothing. It was just a silly test. I lifted my hand. I was at Rose's cafe. I heard it all. I recorded it. You told Monica to stage a fake breakup, record how I'd react, and decide my worth like some emotional experiment. That's not harmless. That's psychological warfare. Nora mumbled. We were just trying to protect her. Protect her? I leaned in. You coached a married woman to lie to her husband, to fake heartbreak, to deliver a performance timed to manipulate. That's not protection. That's betrayal. Celeste's jaw tensed. If you loved her, you'd have fought for her. That was the whole point. I almost laughed. Real love doesn't need an audience. If Monica wanted to leave, I'd have let her. If she wanted truth, she should have asked. Instead, she chose a lie. I turned to Monica. This was never about whether I cried or stayed calm. It was always about trust, and you broke that the moment you agreed to play along. Her voice was barely audible. Albert, please, I didn't mean... I cut her off. No more scenes. No more monologues. This play is over. I'll take what I need. Everything else can stay. You can tell your co-writers how you threw away a marriage for a script. The room fell into a suffocating quiet. No one spoke. Celeste looked like she wanted to say something but didn't. I walked into the bedroom, grabbed a small bag, and started packing. That night, I settled into Harlan's spare room. It was cramped, the bed squeaked with every movement, but it was still freer than the place I'd just walked away from. No yelling, no door slams, no need for payback, just my quiet departure. By morning, my phone looked like a disaster alert center. 27 missed calls, a flood of texts. Monica's messages flipped between apologies and accusations. Pleased to talk. One stood out. You didn't even let me finish the script. That told me everything I needed to know. Then came the calls from her family. Her mother was first. Her voice came sharp, practiced. Albert, she made a mistake. She just wanted to see if you loved her enough to fight for her. Seriously? You're going to end things over this? She asked, disbelief heavy in her tone. I kept it simple. Yes. Then her brother jumped in, more aggressive than she had been. You humiliated her in front of her friends. That's low. I stayed calm. No, she did that herself when she chose lies instead of honesty. I didn't stay to argue. Every call after that played out the same way, me hanging up while their accusations faded into silence. After a few failed attempts, Monica switched strategies. Instead of reaching out directly, she began shaping the narrative. Mutual contacts started forwarding me screenshots, posts she'd made painting herself as the victim. Sometimes the person you love turns out to be someone you never really knew. You give your heart, and in return, they betray you. It would have been laughable if it weren't such a calculated move, I replied once, only once. I sent a short audio clip, the one recorded at Rose's cafe, to two people I trusted, Harlan and Marta, our former neighbor. No added comments, no explanation, just the facts. Harlan texted back almost instantly. Smart. Let the facts do the talking. Marta's reply was even shorter. Good. Don't let her rewrite it. After that, I kept the audio with me like a shield. No arguments, no explanations. Let her chase her own spin while the truth traveled on its own. By week's end, the ripple effects had begun. It started with a message at midnight from someone I barely knew, Victor, Adriana's boyfriend. Albert, is it true Monica was told to fake a breakup, and you caught it on tape? I sent him the 10-second clip. Celeste's voice was unmistakable. His response came back fast. That explains everything. Adriana pulled the same trick on me last month. I almost left her. 2 days later, Daniel reached out, Nora's partner. He said he'd heard pieces of the story from others. So, the sudden coldness and emotional games, that was all part of the same thing? I confirmed it. He told me he was done, walking away. By Friday night, their little circle was falling apart. Celeste's fiancé broke things off when he found out she'd been the mastermind. Adriana was newly single. Nora had vanished from social media. Their network of schemes and tests was crumbling from the inside. Monica didn't take it well. She showed up at my office around lunchtime, puffy-eyed, anxious. Apparently, security had already been watching her after she lingered in the lobby too long. I stepped out briefly to avoid a scene. Albert, please, she said, her voice cracking. This is getting out of control. Everyone's turning on me. I never thought it would go this far. You knew what you were agreeing to, I told her. You said yes. That's all it took. She tried again, her desperation rising. I just needed to know if you cared. That's all I wanted. I didn't mean for this to happen. I cut her off. You didn't need a performance to find that out. You needed trust, and you chose the act instead. She reached toward me, but a security guard stepped between us. They escorted her out while whispers stirred behind me in the office. Most of my coworkers already knew more than she imagined. That evening, she was back online, vague accusations, claims that I had been emotionally cold, distant, even manipulative. I didn't respond. There was no need. Enough people had already heard the recording, and now that the truth had taken root, silence said everything. By the second week, the tone of her messages had changed. The anger was gone. In its place were excuses wrapped in apologies. They pushed me into it. I didn't know what else to do. I'd undo it if I could. We can fix this, Albert. Please don't throw us away over one mistake, I replied once more. Typed it in my notes app first to make sure I got it right. No emotion, no edits. The trust is broken. I hope you find peace, but this is the end. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked her. In the days that followed, I focused on moving forward. Harlan helped me pack up the last of my things, quietly, while Monica was out. I didn't take anything we shared. No furniture, no dishes, just what was mine. No drama, no confrontation, just a quiet, clean break. At work, I started picking up more hours. That led to a talk with my supervisor about a new position. For the first time in a long while, I could think clearly about the future. Most nights I hit the gym with Harlan, and that was the beginning of my real recovery. One night, while enjoying a cup of coffee at a quiet cafe tucked inside a bookstore, I ran into Leona, an old acquaintance from a volunteer project years ago. She asked what had happened with Monica. I gave her the short version. Monica orchestrated a loyalty test, and I walked away. Leona let out a soft laugh, the kind that held both empathy and disbelief. Sounds like something straight out of a bad daytime drama, she remarked. We ended up talking for over an hour, though not about relationships. Instead, our conversation wandered through books we loved, travel memories, and what we'd been doing professionally. When she stood to leave, I lingered a bit longer, sitting in that calm, quiet space. It hit me how refreshing it was, just talking. No emotional traps, no veiled agendas, just a normal human exchange. I wasn't looking to turn that conversation into anything beyond what it was. That wasn't the takeaway. What struck me was how easy and honest it felt, how it highlighted the needless complexity Monica and her circle had brought into something that should have been simple, a marriage. From a legal standpoint, things moved quickly. I filed for divorce. Monica didn't push back. We had no children, and the finances had already been divided. There was nothing left to dispute. Once the papers were signed, it was done. Clean break. She reached out once more, through her sister, hoping we could pause and talk things over. I declined. Some endings don't need a conversation. This one didn't. A month later, I found myself back at Rose's cafe, the same place where, quietly and without warning, everything had begun to unravel. I chose a table by the window this time. Across the room, in a distant booth, a couple sat deep in conversation. No whispers, no hidden phones, just a woman speaking plainly, her hands resting on the table, while the man leaned in, not to argue, but to understand. It was simple, honest, real. And in that quiet moment, I saw more truth than any explanation could offer. My thoughts drifted back to Monica. I could still hear Celeste's voice, so sure of herself, as she declared that a man's love could only be proven if he begged. I remembered the clink of wine glasses, the smug rehearsals passed off as insight. I recalled Monica's last words to me, "It's over," not knowing she had just closed the book on our story. But there was no bitterness left, only clarity. Love isn't measured by theatrics or desperate pleas. It lives in the ordinary, the small routines, the unnoticed efforts, the quiet reliability. The things that matter most are often the least flashy. The signs of real love had always been present. She simply chose not to recognize them. In the end, it wasn't me who failed her test. It was Monica who failed herself, trusting in manipulative games over the steady truth right in front of her. By then, our marriage was already done. As I stood and made my way out, I passed the couple in the booth. The man looked up briefly. We exchanged a glance. No words, just a mutual recognition that genuine connection still exists. Sometimes real strength isn't in clinging to something that's already been thrown away. Sometimes strength means releasing it, quietly, calmly, and letting that silence say everything that needs to be said. And that's exactly what I did.